Hi, and welcome to this section of the Pre-Algebra Tutor. And here we're going to begin to cover some very important topics in this section and the next few sections. This section is on the topic of adding integers. And if you remember from a couple sections ago, an integer is a positive number, negative number, or zero. No decimal point involved, it's just the whole numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and on positive and on negative. So we have the negative numbers and the positive numbers to deal with, and we're going to learn how to add them in this section. So we've broken up the sections here. This one is on adding integers, and then we'll have one on subtracting integers, and then multiplying integers, and then dividing integers. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is not hard. It's nothing more difficult than your third grade math that you learned before. It's just there's a couple of more rules to learn because we have negative numbers involved. And I'm going to tell you something. I want you to watch this section and practice enough problems to where you really feel like you really and truly understand and can do these kinds of things, because a lot of people, if they don't understand how to add numbers properly, negative and positive numbers properly, or subtract them, multiply them, divide them, then of course when you get to equations and other things later on, it's just going to seem hard, and it doesn't have to be that way. So we've got a ton of example problems, a ton of different ways to memorize and learn the little rules involved, and we're going to learn it by doing. So let's do that now. Now, before we actually get to the addition, I need to cover one very important topic, very easy topic with you, and that is the concept of the absolute value of a number. The absolute value of a number. Has a big word, not a hard thing at all. So let's talk about that briefly. Well, a lot of you probably already know what this is, but for those of you that don't, the absolute value of a number is a very simple concept if it's explained in the right way. So let me give you a few numerical examples just instead of telling you in words what it is. The absolute value of the number 3, and these bars here, don't be scared off by them. That's just a math symbol, that tells you that we're talking about the absolute value of this number. So there's lots of symbols in math, equals, plus, negative, square root, all these things. There was a time when you didn't know any of them, so don't be upset if you don't know the symbol. Just absorb it and say, okay, this is what we're going to call the absolute value. The absolute value of a number 3, which is an everyday number you've dealt with all your life, is just the number 3. Okay, I'm going to give you a few examples, and then we're going to go and kind of wrap it up with a general observation. The absolute value of the number 5 that you've learned all your life is just the number 5. The absolute value of the number 1 that you've dealt with all your life is just the number 1. So you see, it's not a hard concept, just like I was telling you. And I'm going to get into some words and what absolute value is in a second. But let me show you a little something interesting. The absolute value of the number -2, which is negative numbers are new to a lot of people in this course. The absolute value of this is not -2, it's +2. The absolute value of -7 is equal to 7. And the absolute value of, let's say, -10 is equal to 10. So you can see whatever number you put in the inside of these little brackets here, whether it's positive or whether it's negative, no matter what you put in there, the absolute value is going to take the sign away. It's going to strip the sign off. If it's positive, it's going to stay positive. If it's a negative in there, you strip that negative away, and the answer is positive. So that is the absolute value. Now, why would we take the time to define something like this? Why would we care about that? Well, if you look at a number line, which we did a lot in the last section, so this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is -1, -2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let me take a minute to label it. -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, -9, -10, and then over here we can just do it down below. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so why do we care about this stuff? Let me choose a different color here. We said the absolute value of the number 3, which is here on the number line, is equal to 3. What absolute value really is it's basically telling you what is the distance between that number that you have in the brackets and 0. That's why we call it the absolute value, because the real value of the number is just -5 or -2 or +3 or whatever the number is. That's the value of the number. But the absolute value is basically saying, okay, I'm not going to look at the sign of the number. let me actually put this as a 0 in a different color so we can make it easier. I'm not going to look at the sign of a number. I just want to know absolutely how far away it is from 0. So this is 3 units away from 0. That's why the absolute value is 3. Number 5 is 5 units away from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the absolute value is 5. The number 1 is 1 unit away from 0, so the absolute value is 1. Now, negative 2 is over here. Yes, it is a negative number, and yes, it's on this side of 0, but absolute value is basically trying to get you to look and see, well, what is the actual distance, the total distance from here to 0? No matter if it's positive or negative, how far away is it? So this is 2 units away. That's why we have a positive number here. Negative 7 is over here. And yeah, it's a negative number too, but it is 7 units away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units away from 0. So that's why we call it the absolute value is 7. And of course, negative 10 is over here, and it's 10 units away, so the absolute value is 10. The reason that this is important when we start to add numbers together is because we're going to be adding negative numbers in with the positive numbers. And so you have to know that the negative numbers, yes, they do lie over here, and yes, that's extremely important, but you'll see as we go on through it that knowing what the absolute value is, being able to strip the sign away and just look at the number and then go back and figure out what to do with that sign in the end of it, that is going to be very useful the way I'm going to teach you how to add these integers together. So the basic idea is the absolute value teaches you or tells you the distance between whatever point it is you have and 0. That's why we call it the absolute value, because it's the value of the number absolutely independent of the sign. Strip the sign away, this is how far away it is from 0. That's what absolute value is. So on your test, if you have absolute value with some stuff in here, all you're going to do to give the answer is take the sign, throw it away. What you have left over is absolute value. See, it's a very simple concept. Now, we're going to get into the fun topic of adding integers together. Some of it's going to seem trivial. Some of it is going to seem like, wow, that's not so hard. And I hope it's the latter. And so let's go ahead and do that now. There are a few rules. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the rules, give some examples as we do it, and then we're going to hit a ton of problems. So if you don't think you quite get it as we hit the rule the first time, that's okay. Just keep going and watch all the examples. It will come to you by repetition. You'll see the patterns involved.